Fed up living like a monk, 42 meters and 39F. Reposting due to lack of replies. Sami, 42 meters, and my wife, 39F, have been married for almost 10 years. Together for 12. Relationship has been great up until a couple of years ago when we started to become less physically intimate. She developed some other symptoms which eventually ended in a diagnosis of early menopause. She started HRT around 6 months ago, which has alleviated some of the symptoms but not all. Her libido is now virtually non-existent. We've always had a physical relationship, and I'm finding it really hard to live without this now. We have sex maybe once a month, and to be honest, it feels like pity sex most of the time. I've given up trying to initiate anything now. I feel unloved and unwanted. She said to me last night, as I was about to fall asleep, that she was sorry she doesn't put out much. She said it along with something else. I just ignored the comment about not putting out as it was too late to talk about it and I was tired. But it woke me up as I thought about the phrasing, because it's not something she would normally say. Not putting out indicates that she doesn't really want to, but is doing it more from a sense of duty or obligation. I don't want that. I want someone who genuinely wants to get physically intimate because they want to. And because they want to with me. Actually struggling to cope with this. I find myself looking at couples out on the street and wondering how many times they do it. How the guy must feel to lie in bed with someone who gets horny, etc. Quite soul-destroying actually. Any advice on what to do next would be appreciated. This may sound obvious, but since you didn't mention, have you tried a sincere conversation? You said you ignored her saying, not putting out, and got confused later. So I believe before anything else you two should sit and talk to each other, as there should be no doubts regarding your intimacy. She is not doing it because she doesn't love you anymore. Being horny is nothing more than some hormones acting, and your wife is passing through a process that affects hormones directly. Before thinking on wanting to be with someone who desires you and comparing your relationship with other couples, try to understand her side and let her know your side. Tell her what you feel and ask her how she feels and try to work from there. Does she feel a treatment will make things better? Couple therapy? Romantic dinner? Maybe even both, working on looks and hitting the gym or something. Hell, even a divorce if the situation is dire. I don't know. I'm a Reddit stranger. You are the couple here. Nothing wrong with wanting to be desired, but you'll go nowhere without communication. From the POV of a woman who has had libido problems in the past. I can assure you, she would love to feel that way again. Really desiring you physically as she used to. But she doesn't know how to get there. And that's frustrating for her, too. Try to find the team feeling again. You two are a team against all the difficulties life may bring. Be kind to each other. Show love in all kinds of ways. And possibly let her talk to a sex therapist on her own. And then maybe both of you together. If your dick suddenly wouldn't get hard anymore, and she told you that it made her feel unwanted and unloved, what would your advice to her be? I miss my libido. I enjoyed sex. Also have been with NY boyfriend for 12 years and we have a 8mo baby. I am overwhelmed most of the time. It recently started to feel like another chore that takes my me time away. We will make sure that everything is more equal and make sure we both get me time, because we have a tendency to do everything in family, so we both have no me time. For many women it's much deeper than just libido itself. No pun intended. Our whole life affects our libido. It can be the relationship itself. It could be kids, the job, whatever. I hope for you that it gets better soon. If you marry someone, you should be there for them through their health things. Every woman goes through menopause. Many women have libido issues with it. It's part of aging. Some women get libido issues through other health issues or can't have sex during pregnancy or get it from grief and stress. Many situations can cause it. And men can have it too. It's part of life and something a couple has to work though. If you can't maintain a marriage without having sex for a couple months, it's something to evaluate about yourself. You shouldn't be married to someone just for sex but for a lifelong partner. That doesn't mean you can't be frustrated about it, but it's not fair to paint yourself as a victim or question your marriage with her. Honestly, you need to grow up. You know it's symptom of menopause but are overanalyzing things and trying to make her seem like a bad guy. Reminds me of the statistic that men are 6x more likely to initiate a divorce when their wife gets sick. Dude, your wife is going through menopause. That's what's destroyed her libido. This isn't some woe is me, I'm not loved thing anymore. It's a medical issue. You committed to your wife through sickness and in health. That was what you made. It wasn't a commitment of, as long as we can bang regularly. That your wife is still trying to have some semblance of a love life with you, even though medically she doesn't have the urge for it, is a sign she cares and is trying to make that part of the relationship work to the best she can. So you need to figure out how to get over your feelings about it and embrace what is offered. Edit. To elaborate, the issue that I see is not that Op has feelings about the reduction in their sex life. That is valid. The issue seems to be that he centers himself as the victim and has rebuffed his wife's attempts to address it. For example, she literally tried to address it last night, which was the putting out comment, rather than take it as an invitation to discuss. Not only was it shut down, but it was then changed into another thing that made him the victim, rather than being viewed as an invitation from the wife to address the issue. We have sex maybe once a month, and to be honest, it feels like pity sex most of the time. I've given up trying to initiate anything now. I feel unloved and unwanted. The data says it's a medical issue because she's going through menopause. That she's seeking medical help for and attempting to rectify and has apologized for. Your tone indicates that you think it's something she's doing intentionally. Quite soul-destroying actually. Nowhere in this post do you indicate that you've even attempted to figure out how it feels for her. Don't you think this is hurting her too? This entire post is, me. What about your wife? How is she feeling? Do you think for a second she doesn't feel the clear resentment, anger, and suspicion even I feel reading these paragraphs? Where is your empathy? I guess, through sickness and in health, doesn't apply to you. 12 years of marriage and she has an unavoidable medical issue. This is how you respond. You want advice? Seek therapy. The advice you're asking for. Sit down with her and talk to her like a human being. Open your heart. Let her open hers. Do not shout. Do not yell. Do not blame. Just express your emotions and how you're feeling and give her the dignity and opportunity to do the same. Honestly, you shouldn't need random people on the internet to tell you to do this. But given you've not mentioned it in your post, I'm going ahead with assuming you haven't done relationship step number 1. Talking. I have polycystic kidney disease, which eventually killed my kidneys back in 2016. During that time and the year or so before it, my libido dropped significantly. My wife did notice and we had our conversation about it. She still had a difficult time accepting that it wasn't her but did understand better to why. After my transplant in 2020 it slowly came back and it back to almost normal. What I am saying is that she is obviously going through something physically that you might not completely understand. Plus I don't think it's only a physical situation but also a mental health situation as well. She is 39 and having to deal with something she likely didn't expect until her mid-50s. I think you should just talk to each other and maybe go to couples counseling. Most likely she will need to take something to help her through this, or even permanently. Communication is key right now. I'd sit down with her. Reassure her you know and understand her lack of libido is a medical issue and you would never hold it against her or anything like that, but that her saying things like she's sorry she doesn't put out much make you feel incredibly unwanted and like she sees your desire for her as a burden and obligation, and that is a huge problem for you. Ask her if you can both work on adding more physical intimacy that doesn't lead to sex, things like holding hands, cuddling during movies, kissing, massages, etc. In other words, find new ways to connect intimately. Doing so will not only help you feel wanted, loved, and desired, but it will also help strengthen your relationship, because the more ways to connect, the stronger the bond. There is evidence that libido can recover postmenopause. Often not as strong or as high as before, but still return somewhat. And there are things to try that may help if she wants that. Google return of libido after menopause if you want to learn more. Whether hers does or doesn't. Finding new ways to be physically intimate together will only help, not hurt. Waiting for women to get horny is not actually a very good approach in general. Create an atmosphere of intimacy and care around your relationship long before you want to be sexually intimate. Intimacy shouldn't just be about sex. It should be about quality time spent alone together. Appreciative words exchanged, encouragement given, thoughtful gifts, meaningful acts of service, intimate hugs, random acts of kindness, surprises, sharing the mental and physical load at home, making meaningful time together without interruption from kids, friends, work, family, phones. I think even for yourself, if you start thinking about your physical and sexual relationship being more than just the act of sex itself, you'll find your wife to be more intimate and responsive. And I also think you'll likely feel less alone and despondent yourself. Even if this doesn't result in more regular sex straight away, this would be a long-term investment in your marriage. This should have probably been the norm for the entire relationship. But it's not too late. Women are more fluctuating in their hormones in general. Hormones affect your libido, your mood, your physical needs, your appetite, your energy levels, your exercise needs, life, the 95-work week, exercise programs, diets, etc. have all been designed to suit the more even levels of hormones experienced by men. Going through life with female hormones is a struggle. Maybe it's time to get into the trenches and help your wife with her struggle right now. Man, I don't know what advice you expect, but mine is that you need to grow up a little. Trust me, I know it feels like you're being abandoned when sex stops for a period of time, but this is medical. She can't help it. On top of her hormones, she probably feels bad about herself in general. Aging does that to a person. She might even be in the midst of a depression. My advice is to take that negative energy and turn into a positive way to help your wife through this. I'm not saying your sex life will be the same, but what you really want is intimacy. You won't get intimacy if she doesn't like herself and she feels guilty about you. Show her support and love. Make her feel special. Ask her on dates with no expectation of sex. If you put in the work, you might be surprised at how she responds. Good luck. I am 52. I am currently mid-menopause. But I am, sorry to say, horny as a hound dog. What is stopping me going out to get it? I live in Africa. The literal gates of hell, hot. I am not a big woman. Not by a long shot, so you would think it would be easier for me. It is not. The hot flushes are killing me. I literally sit in an air-conditioned room with sweat running down me as if I just got out the shower. This happens approximately every 10 minutes. It's completely ridiculous. And the heat of my country makes it that much worse. It's a huge libido killer. My point. I understand your situation. I also definitely understand your wife's. Thank goodness I am single. Just an aside, there is a lesser-known pill on the market called Menagrain. It works to control menopause for my sister. It does not work for me. It is also cheap and over-the-counter. Not sure if you get it where you are, but might help your wife control her menopause. Chat with your MD and see what he says. Just a thought. Hang in there. It will get better. I promise. Good luck. Have you or your wife read any material about the phenomenon of responsive desire? Learning about it might help you better understand your wife's experiences and your own, and figure out a happier and healthier dynamic. The concept is essentially that, instead of the traditional model where initially thinking about sex leads to then pursuing physical gratification, for many people, it kinda goes the other way around. They don't think about or mentally desire sex until after they begin to become physically aroused. For whatever reason, a lot of women report that they fall into this category. Along with this updated model of desire goes the concept of brakes and accelerators. Accelerators are all the things that make you want to pursue sex attraction to a partner. Mood, right time of day, right day of the week, right day of the month, relaxation, right atmosphere, physical comfort and arousal, etc. Brakes are all the things that put a damper on that sexual desire and stop you from pursuing gratification at any given moment. You're not feeling well. You're currently in the frozen foods aisle at the grocery store. Other people in the house might hear you or walk in. Bed is covered in stuff. Your body is not responding the way you want and you're feeling self-conscious about it. You have a medical issue. Partner has stink mouth because they are on an onion cleanse this week. You're hangry, etc. Sometimes the accelerators are sufficient to override the brakes. And sometimes the brakes win out. Right now, it sounds like your wife is dealing with a lot of brakes. So many that she may not even notice the accelerators, or recognize when her body might be feeling the physical parts of arousal. Some of those brakes may be ongoing, and some might be temporary or fixable. So it might help for you both to take some time and try and list out things that are accelerators for you personally, and then list things that crop up that act as brakes. Get really granular. Spend a couple days on these lists, so that when something comes up in a moment, you can write it down and keep track. Once you each have good long lists going, put them away for a day or two, and then look back over them. Edit and refine them so you get to a version of each item that feels most accurate. Then, sit down at a time when you are both relaxed, well-fed, and have a couple hours to give each other your full attention. Go over your lists with each other and look for commonalities and ways to sync up your desire. What types of obstacles are preventing you both, but especially your wife, from being interested in sex? Which of those can you change or adjust? What factors make her most likely to be open to enjoying a sexual encounter? The most important point that I want to underscore with all of this is that when your wife is not interested in sex, or says no, she's not saying no to you. She's not rejecting you. She's rejecting sex. She's rejecting the circumstances. In moments where she isn't having sex with you, her brakes are simply exceeding her accelerators. You aren't wrong, and neither is she. Your desire is just out of sync. Understanding these factors and circumstances will help you learn to set yourself up for success before you even initiate, but also will hopefully help you reframe it from, "She doesn't want me," to, "She's not up for sex right now because her body is behaving unexpectedly and she has a lot on her mind and additional braking elements 1, 2, 3, etc." Quote. Dr. Emily Nagoski has a great book on the topic, Come As You Are, which might be great for both of you to read and discuss together. She also has a very informative blog and has written a lot of articles about sexual desire. Do some reading. No doctor in the world takes women's sex drives seriously. But it is a medical problem. Start by realizing that this is not even a little bit about you. Not disregarding your feelings on this or saying they aren't valid. But I feel like this is a reminder a lot of men struggling with this should hear. She is not doing this to you. This is happening to her. It's easy to become resentful with the wrong mindset. Just remember that this is affecting her just as much as it is affecting you. As someone who's had a couple bouts of lost libido, the guilt can be absolutely crippling. Sex isn't the only way to be intimate. Dude, she's going through menopause. Beat it. The fact that she brought it up and apologized shows that it's something that is also bothering her. I highly recommend reading Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It really helped us. As others have said, you need to find other ways to be intimate. You need to find ways to talk to each other about a very difficult and sensitive topic so you are fulfilled and she doesn't feel so badly about herself. I think you would benefit greatly in seeing that your wife has literally lost a part of herself at this point. Her femininity. Her body no longer makes estrogen and society tells women we are useless once we hit menopause. You are unfortunately enforcing this idea. Her sexual desires have significantly decreased and now you are upset because you don't feel wanted. Your wife is very painfully aware how much she is hurting you and how much she doesn't want to. Hence her putting out comment. You are allowed to be sad and frustrated. But you can also come up with other ways to feel fulfilled sexually without sex. This requires work on both your parts as well as probably seeing a therapist that specializes in sexual relationships. Others have also touched on the fact that intimacy stems from feeling connected. And neither of you feel any connection to the other. Don't be resentful of your wife. Remember that you love her and she loves you. And I'm sure she would love to fix this together.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.